Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, this is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker for tonight, Jeff.
Cool. Thanks. Hi, Jeff Alcoholic. Hi. Thanks, Josh, for asking me to speak. Thanks. I'm a little under the weather. I'm kind of getting over this. I've been praying a lot for this guy in seat 2D on my flight back from New York who coughed about 8 inches from my head for 6 hours. I think I'm past contagion, though. We're all good. Anyway, it's good to be back out here. This is one of the first meetings I came to when I first got sober, and I mean came to. I left a lot of wreckage in these rooms my first time around. I actually have a lot of friends here, and I see guys like Mark and Wayne and Mickey and Alex who were kind of witnesses to some of that. But I love it. When I first came here, there were these big air conditioning or blower things on the ceiling because you could smoke in here, and the coffee pots came through the wall. And I was completely freaked out by this program. It clearly wasn't for me. And I remember being in detox. Well, okay, real quickly, what I was like. My last year of using was I weighed 425 pounds. I had huge open abscesses in my legs. I would wake up dope sick, pound cottons, try not to get cotton fever, get well enough to make it to the methadone clinic, down a couple vodkas, make my way past the cops outside the methadone clinic who I'd fooled because I was shooting up my legs, not my arms. Got to work, sick at work by 1 o'clock, shoot up in the bathroom, sick again by 5, make my way over to Javier's house, where I would do the little monkey dance for Javier, and beg him for another couple grams of dope to stay well until the next morning. And that was my routine. I got my paychecks. I was working as an executive in the record business. I had a really good job, complete double life. I would give my checks to Javier. He would give me a couple $100 to live on. That's how it went. Power disconnected, phone disconnected, about 100, 101, 102 degree fever all the time for the last couple of years, taking antibiotics all the time because my legs were completely infected. About 120 milligrams of Valium a day, a bunch of codeines, 2 grams of dope, a bunch of alcohol, downing some Jack Daniels at night along with my pizza and ice cream, and I always try and share this. Everything I'm saying is my opinion, right? There's no authorities in AA. If there was, I wouldn't be one anyway. My opinion, this is the way I work the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, there's probably 1,000 ways to do it. I know one way that, I know a couple ways that don't work, and I know one way that does. I always tell the guys I sponsor, I'm like, if you're asking me to sponsor you, presumably you want what I have, and the only way I know to tell you how to get what I have is to do what I did. So I can only tell you my way. It doesn't mean it's the way, it's just my way. So I believe that, I know that there are spiritual principles behind all the steps, because my sponsor made sure that I knew that. And the way that he asked me that was, he said, let me ask you a question. He goes, do you intend to stay sober? It's like, yeah. He goes, okay, so you intend to work the steps? I'm like, yes. He says, all 12 of them? I said, yeah. Including number 12? I'm like, yeah, where are you going with this? And he says, well, you know that last half of step 12 where it says we practice these principles in all our affairs? I was like, yeah. I think it might be a good idea to know what the fuck they are so you could actually do step 12? I was like, yeah. So he goes, we're going to figure out what the spiritual principle behind every step is. And I realized after 5 or 6 or 7 years sober that I actually learned a lot about spiritual principles when I was out there using, right? I mean, I learned all about the spiritual principle of willingness and what I would do to stay well or get loaded. And I actually never hit a point at something I wouldn't do. And I used to fantasize about well, would you cut off your finger and, I don't know, a left hand or right hand to get well? And I remember, man. I remember my last day of using. I remember the desperation. I remember what it's like to be dope sick. I remember what it's like to be completely fucking hopeless. Because I also learned about acceptance. And I learned, I try and explain this to people sometimes. I know you guys will relate. Actually, one look at you guys and I know you'll relate. But I had completely accepted the fact that I was going to die. I couldn't go through one more detox. I was not normal. Whenever that class was on living life was held that other people were in, I missed it. And I was just going to die. And it became okay. It became okay. And I can't really explain that to normal people. I just completely accepted that fact. And the idea was to die with the least amount of pain possible. So I kept this loaded gun by my bed. So that when Javier cut me off, or my boss fired me, or I couldn't find any dope, or I was in too much pain, I could just kill myself, and that way I could control how much pain I was going to be in before I died, which was the inevitable conclusion anyway. And so when I was around the gun, I felt more comfortable. I was way too much of a pussy to actually commit a crime with it, but I thought I could off me. I committed a lot of crimes. Somebody said to me early on, they said, because I was complaining about something not being fair. And they said, well, Jeff, if the world were truly fair, you'd be doing about 15 to 20 in Pelican Bay, wouldn't you? I was like, oh, good point. Okay. So I ended up in detox. I'm telling you all this secondhand. I didn't know. They found my family. They said, this guy is completely mentally incompetent, but he's got cellulitis in his leg. His tibia bone's starting to come through. We got to amputate his leg. He still might die, but he'll definitely die if you don't amputate the leg, and he can't authorize it, so you have to authorize it, which they did. So I went into surgery to get my leg amputated. My tolerance level to opiates was too high, so the anesthesiologist said, I'm not putting you under, or I'm not putting him under. You got to detox him for 7 to 10 days, and then we'll amputate. So into detox for 7 to 10 days, feeling like shit. Back into surgery. Happened to get the same surgeon at Beverly Hills Medical Center who noticed some tissue growth, so he said, let's try some reconstructive surgery first, which they did, saved my leg. Then back into detox, then back in for a skin graft, then back to detox, then back in for a second skin graft, then back to detox, and then finally waking up at Beverly Hills Medical Center with nothing in my system, and I wasn't sick. And it was the most amazing fucking feeling I had ever had. It was like I felt awesome, but completely fragile. I thought if I moved the wrong way, or if wind blew on me, or if there was too much sunlight, I was just going to go right into like detox shivers, and I felt like a little twig. And they would take us. I came to this meeting, and I got out of detox and treatment, and I got an apartment with a friend of mine, this girl Kat. We had gone through detox together. We were friends, and I started going to meetings. And oh, hey, Jesse. I got the cool sponsor. I got Joey. Joey Dante was my sponsor, and we used to all go to noon meetings over on Beverly Glen, and we'd all go and hang out afterwards. It was fucking awesome, And I got 30 days sober, and it was like, oh, woohoo! And then 60 days sober, and I was hanging out with all my brothers in AA, and it was awesome. And then 90 days, and then like at 93 days, I woke up and it was like, I want to fucking get loaded. I went into what I call copping mode. When you just like, the transmission just clicks and you're getting loaded. And if there's a brick wall between you and the dope, coming down. No discussion, not an option. And I called my friend Ira, and I was like, what do I do? He's like, we should go to a meeting. I'm like, okay, cool, right, meeting. Go. And then we went over to Beverly Glen, and I just had that cold sweat, and hearing the speaker share about using, and more cold sweat, and I shared about how I felt, more cold sweat. And then the meeting was over, and my friends were there, and they're like, come on, man, you're going out to coffee with us. We're going to hang out. You're going to be okay. I'm like, all right, cool. I felt better. And I went out to coffee with them, and then I went and got loaded. And speedballs was my thing. So I negotiating with myself the whole way. I need a rig, I need coke, and I need dope. And if I can't get any of those 3, then I'm not going to do it, which, of course I got all 3. We're good, right? I speak up at Wayside Prison every month, and I told those guys something that I found, which is that the shit that we can do, like at 2 a.m. with no money with a dealer we've just burned, makes the titans of corporate America shamed. Clearly, like if we could apply 5% of that willingness and that dope fiend mentality to like career, you will rule the country. I've never seen that kind of willingness and cunning and guile and ability. Anyway, so of course I shot up right in that same leg that had just been surgically saved because I knew there was a vein in there. And by the way, whatever intellect that I have, whatever IQ points I have now, I had then. I don't think I'm any smarter now than I was then. And I knew intellectually, as I was bringing a syringe into this freshly surgically altered leg, this was not a good idea. And I shouldn't be doing this, and it's completely wrong. And why am I doing this? And you're still sober, and plunge. And in and out, and in and out. And then, all right, real quick. Then the Rolling Stones were coming to town. And I had been in the music business, and so all these guys at the Sunday Brotman men's stag meeting asked me if I could get tickets, and this is where I learned what a people pleaser I am. I already knew what a manipulator I was. I said, absolutely. And so one guy said, I want 12 tickets. I'm like, cool. He was an alcoholic too. I said, they're $36 a ticket. They're going on sale in a few weeks. Give me the money. When they go on sale, you'll get them. The next day, I got all these calls from the guys from Brotman going, dude, Rolling Stones, can you get me a pair of tickets? I'm like, absolutely. Can you get me 4? Yes. I'm your man. I'm good. And all of a sudden, I was like in. I used to walk into all these guys. They were like laughing and smiling, and they were like friendly. You were part of that meeting. Remember that, Sunday Brotman? And it was like I felt so apart from, and now all of a sudden I was part of. And I'm waiting for the tickets to go on sale. Then I got loaded again. Except this time I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to disappoint them. So I'm coming to meetings and sharing loaded and taking chips loaded. I went through all my money, went through all their money. And this was the first time that I realized, and if nobody's experienced this here before, I implore you, just trust me what I'm about to tell you. All of the bullshit and the hyperbole and the scare tactics and the boogeyman shit that I heard from the podiums of AA was true. Okay? Trust me when I tell you, it was fucking true. And I became like this disembodied head watching what was happening to me. And my disease had progressed. I had an oil burner habit back. It was worse than ever before. The shit that I was doing, it was like, it was moving without me. I had no choice. And it was the first times I woke up ODing, and I woke up on the kitchen floor a couple times, and it was happening so quick and just so much worse than it had ever been. And those guys started asking me, like, where's our tickets? And I was like, this is the other spiritual principle I learned when I was out there, which is one day at a time. Right? Because once again, intellectually, if I have some dope, but I have no money, Javier's looking for me with a shotgun, and I don't know where to get any other dope, I'm going to be dope sick in 6 to 7 hours. But right now, I'm all good. Right? Very in the moment. And same principle with these guys. As long as I could come up with a story for them, I was very in the moment. It was all good. Started getting a little shaky, and it got really shaky. And I went to Office Supplies Unlimited on Pico and bought a book of blank vouchers and a little rubber page stamp. And I went to my brother's office and filled them all out and signed them and put a really cool code on there. And I took them to the guys at the men's meeting. I go, okay, here's your voucher for your tickets. Just go to the will call at the Coliseum, and they will have your tickets. And look, I got you second row. And my sponsor, Joey, because he was my sponsor, I said, Joey, I know how much you love the Stones, so here's a free pair of tickets for you. In the moment. In that moment, I was the king. Anyway, shortly thereafter, I ended up at a place I had heard about my entire sobriety. I had heard suggested that I go, And these guys were fucking crazy. There's no way I'm going. There was a place called Impact. Exactly. And I heard all the stories, and I found myself back in detox, and the guy, John Bocanegra, John was great, and he was looking at me and just shaking his head and laughing, and I was like, what? He's like, you're back in blue pajamas, like in detox. Haven't you had enough? I'm like, yeah. He's like, and Joey came in to see me, and he's like, you got to go to Impact. I'm like, you're crazy. And he's like, when you asked me to sponsor you, I asked you if you would go to any length for your recovery, and you said you would. I said, I will. He goes, and I asked you if you were willing to follow direction, and you said you would. I said, I will. He's like, okay, go to Impact. I'm like, no. I thought you were willing to go to any lengths. I was like, I am. I'm just not willing to go to Impact. And John Bocanegra had been a senior counselor at Impact, so he was sitting on my bed, and he's telling me about Impact, and I'm like, I don't know why you're telling me about this. And he's like, well, humor me. Okay. Fine, tell me about Impact. He's like, well, it's a 6 to 9 month program. There's 4 phases. Phase 1, there's no visitors, there's no phone calls. You can't touch money, you can't touch an appliance. You have this dad who takes you around. Phase 2, you got a sponsor, you're in your 4th step. Then you take 12-hour passes. I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on a second. Let's back up 1 minute. Phase 1, no visitors, no phone calls, right? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, I'll go. I'll go, because I figured I got all those guys out there with the Stones vouchers. And if I'm at Impact and there's no visitors or phone calls, they can't get to me. And I would tell you honestly, that is the only reason I went to Impact. That's it. And then in the little vain hope that maybe my parents would get really proud of me and somehow just deliver me a check for being a good guy, which they had never really done previously and didn't do this time, but I don't know. Hope springs eternal. Anyway, that's the only reason I went to Impact. I had no real interest in staying clean. I had no real interest in doing whatever other than just getting through that moment. But I will tell you, I've stayed sober ever since I got there, and I just celebrated 21 years. So what that tells me is it doesn't really matter why you get there. It's just that you're there, right? And what happened was, for me at Impact, is it was probably the first time in my life that I was just so scared shitless I just shut the fuck up. Like, I got a game, I got an answer, I got an angle for anything, right? I'm sure none of you can relate to that. But I'm good on my feet. And I'm always looking to dance, and with Impact, it was like this guy that checked me into Impact was Louie. And I remember Louie because he had Louie tattooed on the side of his neck. And Louie had 18 years clean and sober, and his first 10 years were inside Folsom, where he was doing a stretch for a bank robbery. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to tell Louie? Like, I'm this fat Jewish record executive sitting there with, anyway. So I just shut up. I shut up, and they scared me. And then around day 4, I had that big moment of clarity. I'm like, oh my God, the Stones concert's in a week. These guys are going to show up. Fuck, it's 18 vouchers. Let's see, it's 18 counts of probably grand theft, definitely fraud. And I went to my caseworker. Oh man, I remember being at Impact, and I said, what is this whole caseworker thing? And they said, well, you're going to get a guy, and he's going to take you through your time at Impact, and he'll be like your counselor. I was like, are they cool? Yeah, these guys are really cool, except for this one guy, Raymond. You don't want to get Raymond. This big, black, angry, never smile motherfucker. Of course, day 3, Jeff Jampol, Raymond May's office. You know Raymond? Do I owe you anything? Anyway, I told Raymond what I had done, and I came clean with him. And he made me write a letter to Joey and make 17 copies and basically say, look, I stole your money, I lied to you, I cheated, I got loaded, and I'm at Impact, and hopefully I'll work a step 9 and I'll pay you back. The end. Which I just sent off. Now I'm kind of fucked because I'm at Impact and I can't get any visitors or phone calls, so I don't know what's going on over here. I found out later a lot was going on. When I finally got kicked out of Impact after 100 days for manipulating and lying repeatedly, for which I was guilty, I ended up coming back here to the west side, and I paid all those guys off literally $5 and $2 and $10 at a time. And the last guy, Jerry Dix, I gave him 10 checks for $10 a piece, post-dated 2 weeks each. And that was it. Because what happened was, at Impact, when they terminate you, they got 2 guys outside the caseworker's office, they escort you to a room, you put all your shit in trash bags, they take you to the street, done, 8 to 9 minutes. So I'm standing there, and I got nothing. So I called Ira again. Actually, I called everybody. It took me like 5-6 hours. Finally, Ira agreed to pick me up, and he said, you could sleep on my floor tonight, but I'm leaving at 6 a.m. You got to split. Okay. 5:30 in the morning, get up. And then I came here. I came to this room for a 6:30 meeting or something with my trash bags and stood up and said, my name's Jeff, I'm an alcoholic, I have 4 months sober, and I have no money, and I have no place to sleep, and I need some help. That's what I did, and I proceeded to do that for almost a year. Literally, sometimes guys would let me stay for a week or two, but usually night by night, and I was still 425, so I didn't really fit on couches, so it was floors. And then I found a job selling typewriter ribbons and computer ribbons over the phone for $150 a week, which was cool, in a windowless room with Charlie Weinberger, who had 8 years at the time. And he's still sober today, too. I still see Charlie. It was difficult for me to walk through that, man. I was a reasonably smart guy. I thought I knew a little bit about business and sales, and here I was, like, really just starting my life over. But in a weird way, it was an adventure. Not even in a weird way, it was an adventure, because the one thing that I had was I had worked the first 6 steps while I was in treatment. And because I had shut the fuck up, I actually listened, and I actually got it, and I actually had some good guidance from a good sponsor, and I learned what the program was all about. And the way that I learned what the program was all about was by working the steps, by doing some writing and talking and taking action, right? Because they say, actually Mickey Bush used to tell me, you can always act your way into right thinking, but you can never think your way into right acting. Because I think it's all about carving neural pathways and stuff, and it's like you can I can intellectualize anything, right? But just like when I was bringing that syringe into my abscess, it's like I knew that this is not a good idea, but I was completely powerless. I actually, I started studying these papers called the Tebow papers at about 15 or 16 years sober, and I learned some physiological and psychiatric and physical reasons behind a lot of what they talk about in the steps, and it blew my fucking mind. And one of the things he talks about is how the disease of alcoholism exists below our conscious level. It's in our subconscious. So it's autonomic. It really has no interest in what we feel like or want. It's kind of like if I slam my hand with a hammer, I can really want to not feel pain. But my subconscious mind has no interest in what I want or don't want. I just get this screaming pain. And same problem with alcoholism. It exists below the level of consciousness. So the fact that you want to stay sober, the fact that you realize sobriety is great, and the fact that you know you fucked your life up by using and drinking, mazel tov, congratulations, nobody gives a fuck. Doesn't matter. So, and the book talks about how, there will always come a time when we're without mental defense against the first drink. That's what they're referring to, right? I think we enter this weird state of grace or protection through working the steps, and I really got to come face to face with how powerless I really am. Well, I mean, we all have. I guess it takes, some are sicker than others. It takes more for some than for others. It took a lot for me. But I got it. I got it. And when I was in treatment, reading the steps on the wall, I remember sitting in my cute blue pajamas in detox and going, all right, oh, wait a minute, we're powerless over alcohol, our lives have become unmanageable. Yeah. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, oh fuck, I know where they're going with this. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of good. There's the word, God. I'm fucked. This isn't going to work for me. Clearly, I know there's no God. I know it. It's all about intellect and rational thought and behavior. It's all about process. It's not about some weird boogeyman and some dude with a white beard and robes. So I guess some of you can be hypnotized into this bullshit, but it's clearly not going to work for me, and I'm fucked. And that's where I got with steps 2 and 3. And that, when I read step 3, that really was the point at which I felt super hopeless. Because for a second there, I thought, God, maybe this thing will work. And what happened was I kind of got my intellect out of the fucking way by just shutting up and taking some direction. And then when I did some writing and talked to my sponsor and took some physical action, it was just enough for me to get to step 2 and go, all right, there's some hope here, right? Maybe this thing will work. And I guess I'm looking at all you guys right now. Clearly, you should, especially you should be out jacking my stereo or something. I don't know why I'm singling you out. You got a lot of company. And I'd have the screwdriver. I mean, clearly, if you're anything like me, you're not capable of not using or drinking. I'm not capable of not using or drinking. I mean, I drink and use no matter what. It's what I fucking do. And I'm a pro at it. Thank you very much. But we're all here in the same room, not getting loaded right now. We're all sober, presumably. I am. So that was a power greater than me. That was good enough. You know what I mean? I looked at Impact and Raymond, who is completely immune to wit, guile, charm, humor, or intellect. Like, completely. I'd never seen it before in my life. It's like talking to a big black brick wall. And by the way, Raymond, the guy who kicked me out, became my sponsor. He was the guy asked to sponsor me, and he's still my sponsor today. He's been my sponsor for 20 years. Because he was immune to wit, guile, charm, humor, intellect, which are all my fucking defenses. And he lives in Carson, and he doesn't know anything about my business, and he's not somebody I mix with, but the guy's fucking awesome, and I love him because he helped me work the steps, and he gave me what I got. I mean, he was the portal, you know what I mean? All these guys, John Bocanegra, Joey Dante, Raymond, Impact, they were all introduced me to AA. They introduced me to the steps. They introduced me to a way that works. And even though those guys are all very different from me, I worked those steps and I had that spiritual experience that they talk about. I had that awakening. I had that change. And it was just enough to do step 2, which got me to step 3. And, you know, I was still very uncomfortable with this whole good thing, but I did it. And Raymond said, you got to get on your knees and pray. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, do I look like I'm fucking kidding you? Yeah, I know. Stupid question. I'm sorry, Raymond. And I took the action, right? I took the action. It felt weird, felt uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing. I tried to use the Jew excuse for a while. Didn't really hold much water. By the way, if you're Jewish and I sponsor you, remember, Raymond May was my sponsor and is my sponsor. So, you know, I just took the action. I just fucking did it. The weird thing is, the more sober I got, the less I questioned shit. And it got to a point where Raymond has given me some direction that was actually very, and choose my words carefully, that I really, really, really didn't want to follow and had many good logical reasons not to. But I don't even go there anymore. I just kind of surrender to it. You know, I surrender to this whole process and I just take the direction. And it always works out, right? So I actually did a 4th step and a 5th step and 6 and 7, 8, 9, all the way through. I've actually done them many times now. I'm always working a step. Right now I'm on step 6. I'm on step 6 85% of the time. Fucking guys just, anyway. Clearly I have some character defects and I need some help with my willingness. But I would say my willingness is pretty good, and especially for the guys that knew me back then. And I loved what Bonnie, right? Happy birthday. I love what your sponsor told you about you can become the person you were supposed to be here. Because I went on this path that one of the things I did was I made a commitment to recovery. I left the music business. I just said, all right, I can't go back there. I can't do this. I can't do that. I took a job as a classified ad taker at the Culver City News for $250 a week. I opened a checking account with $80. My boss co-signed for me, and I was still sleeping on floors, and I felt like I was rich, and it was great. And I thought, all right, you know, I'll drive a used Kia. I'll have a studio apartment in Culver City. or North Hollywood. It'll be fine. I'm sober, I'm good. And it was great. And I had a great time. And I got a place with this guy, Jim Holden. We rented an apartment on Beverly Glen. It was like $1,100 a month, so we paid $550 each. And he had like 5 days more than I did, and it was awesome. We lived together for like 3.5 years. We had an amazing time. And AA really became the focus of my life. And it became the foundation. And I lucked out in a lot of areas. I mean, I really fucking lucked out in a lot of areas. I know a lot of guys who work the program as well or better than me. I know guys who are as smart or smarter than me. I know guys who work as hard or harder than me. I know guys who are committed as much or more than me. And I've gotten so much more, so I feel really lucky. Because I know a lot of people who work as hard as I do and who are as smart as I am or dumb as I am. But by walking through all this stuff, and I was able to avoid some of the pitfalls, and one of the pitfalls I see guys fall into a lot, is that redundant? Is we come here fucking broken, right? And then we're just like completely surrendered, we're hopeless, we're despairing, we got no other choice. It always reminds me of that push-up scene in with Richard Gere in Officer and Gentleman, you know, I got nowhere else to go. And so like we surrendered to this program, we worked the program, and all of a sudden we started to get this life, and it's great, and it's sparkly. And we get some stuff, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's kind of like this program thing is interfering with our life, and I got this thing, and I got to go here, but this chick, and pretty soon, it's like the thing that gave us our life we're kind of ignoring because now we have this really great sparkly life. And I've seen a lot of guys crash and burn that way. And so it's like, you remember how I said the only reason I got to Impact was just so those guys couldn't get to me? It's like I found that it really doesn't matter why you do certain things as long as you do them, because you will get the desired result, or at least I have. A lot of what I did, especially in the first 5 or 6 years of my sobriety, was motivated by rote fucking fear. Just fear. I wasn't going to go back there, and I became like this step Nazi. And if it didn't say it in the book, that's absolutely, I couldn't consider it. And just that guy, you know what I mean? Just that guy. I was wound so fucking tight, it's like my hair was clenched. And it was still self-centered fear, you know? That's the root of alcoholism, self-centered fear. Fear I'm gonna lose something I got, or not get something I want, or, I mean, in my business today, I have this, I'll just flash forward. I ended up back in the music business. I've had 4 or 5 really amazing, game-changing, life-changing opportunities in sobriety that changed everything. And each of them was out of left field, unintended as a result of being of service to someone in the program. Every fucking time. And out of being of service to somebody again, I became friends with them, and I ended up going back into the music business, literally with the dream job of my life. And I actually mean that literally, because I used to fantasize when I was a kid about some of the clients that I now have. But it was complete fantasy. How am I ever going to get to that level, right? It's like, those guys are my gods, those are my heroes. I manage those guys today. And I consult for a lot of other people, and I have this really amazing business and employees and a company, and it's like I still, every once in a while, I get that thing, man, that they're going to find out. You know, I don't know who they are. I'm not sure what they're going to find out, but they're going to find out, and it's all going to evaporate. And then what really helps me is I just kind of take a deep breath and remember I didn't really do this in the first place, right? I just showed up. Obviously, it's supposed to be happening. I can look at it like being of service. By the way, this is like punctuated by complete self-centeredness, ego, arrogance, condescension, and all that other stuff. All those other reasons Raymond has me back at step 6 85% of the time. But one of the things I love is I've always kept AA as the foundation of my life. I've always kept the steps and recovery and sponsorship as the foundation. And in my business today, and it's a very high-profile business, thank God, and you walk in there and it's like, there'll be a call from the president of a record label, followed by a sponsee, followed by VH1, followed by some newcomer who wants to get into treatment, followed by some rock star, followed by, and it's all just mixed up all day long, and I fucking love that. I love it. One of the things I did to deal with my fear that ended up being a really good thing is I was so scared of relapse that as soon as I started to get some stature in the business, I became very much an open book about my recovery. I can justify that spiritually because I know several people who are alive today that wouldn't be if they didn't know that I was in recovery and they could reach out to me. Same thing that Bill W. said, Bill Wilson, when he says, I always say I'm Bill Wilson from the podium because this is my primary purpose and how else are people going to find me? And it looks very cool and spiritual, but I'm telling you, the real reason I did it was just rote fear, because I figure if everybody knew I was sober and that was the foundation, then if I relapsed, my whole fucking career would just vanish, which it would. And so it's a little bit of extra insurance, you know what I mean? I consider this a blessing. I never get too complacent. I never get too settled. I never get too, I got this. I mean, I get a little bit of that. You know what I mean? It has been working for 21 years, but it's about that daily maintenance of our spiritual condition, right? I mean, it is. And I fuck it up all the time, you know, and I forget to pray, or I'll do something manipulative with somebody. But I have it's really weird. It's like I have this conscience now, and I have this higher self, and I can actually do a 10th step, and I can make amends. The best 10th step is just I don't do that shit in the first place. You know what I mean? I would say I'm really good about 95% of the time. And by the way, I was a real asshole about 100% of the time before I got sober. So it's a big swing for me. I said this to somebody, I think, in New York last week. The best thing I could say for me is I would totally be friends with me. I would hang out with me. I would trust me. And it feels really good because I know I'm that trustworthy guy, right? I am trustworthy, and I am honest, and I show up for people, and I come through with what I say, and if I can't do it, I won't say it. And that shit feels really good. And Raymond said to me very early on, he goes, you know what, you want some self-esteem? Take esteemable actions. Want to feel like an asshole? Take some asshole actions. See how you feel. And it's true, you know, but I'll close with this. The problem is, man, and the big book refers to this in one sentence. It talks about using the program pharmaceutically, right? It's like I am so used to instant results and instant reaction. I want a little pill of a certain color to change the way I feel right fucking now, or her, or that car, or whatever it is. And it's like I want instant gratification. It was part of the reason I was 425 pounds. It's like the deprivation of not having that cake now is not something I can deal with to maybe lose weight way later. I want instant shit right now. I don't think about what's going to happen down the line 2 weeks from now because I'm way too fucking infantile for that, and I just want what I want now. That's alcoholism. You know what I mean? The steps are a really, really good antidote for that shit. So after I took my first cake weighing 425, I thought, wow, maybe my whole attitude about this is based in my alcoholism, and maybe if I apply the steps, I will get some of the same results. And so I did, and I lost 180 pounds within 14 months, and I've been plus or minus, 20, 25 pounds for the last 19 years. And I was a fat guy since I was 8. I was completely incapable of not being fat. And so I watched the steps work again. And you don't always feel another day sober, man, but you can tell a pound. You know, it was good backup for me. And I learned to just relax. I learned to relax a little bit. It's like I take this shit really seriously, and I'm still a quasi-step Nazi, but, you know, it's just part of life. I think we're here to have fun and have some serenity and enjoy and have a balance. I know that's a strange word to many of you, like it was to me. Balance is good. You know, I got a little personal life, I got a little romantic life, I got a little career, mix it all up, be there for guys, do what you say you're gonna do, all good. So I can tell you, man, I feel fucking great. I'm super grateful for my life. I had no fucking idea any of this was going to happen to me when I got here. All I wanted to do was just not put that needle into my abscesses and get those Rolling Stones motherfuckers off my back. That's all I wanted. And I think we can all become the person we're supposed to be, right? And I can also tell you that I've been happy and serene and sober with nothing, and I've been happy and sober and serene with a lot of stuff. Generally, it's better with stuff, but it's fine either way. You know what I mean? And I know, once again, for that fear that I have, just the fear, I know that the worst it's ever going to be for me, the worst it's ever going to be is everything blows up, I lose it all, I'll work as a counselor in treatment, I'll have the used Kia, I'll have the studio apartment, but I'll be sober and have 21 years and it'll be fine. I mean, it could be fine at McDonald's as much as it could be fine at Morton's, you know what I mean? If, you know, we all know what not fine is all about, right? This shit is all fine. And it's all because of the steps and the program and the willingness to do it. That's it. Thank you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.